Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the 2020 Jeep Gladiator. This particular Gladiator is actually a pre-spec. It is already sold, but as always, we're gonna do a quick walk around the vehicle, go over the key features, and then we're gonna take it out to see how it drives. If you are stopping in for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. And then this Jeep is being provided to us by Larry H. Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy. If you are on the market for a new Jeep, definitely check these guys out. They will hook you up. So under the hood here, we have a 3.6 liter V6. This is all routed through an 8-speed automatic. In this particular Gladiator, you can get a 6-speed manual. That's actually the standard transmission that comes with this. In terms of power outputs, you're gonna get 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. Now, wrapping things up front, this is a fully loaded Rubicon. So this comes with the LED light package right here. So you have an LED ring here, and then you have the projector LED bulbs. You got some LED turn signals on the side here, and then you're gonna get the red tow hook, since this is the Rubicon with the signature Jeep grille. Looks just like the JL Wranglers here in the front. Fog lamps are down below. And then what's actually cool is you've got all these screws on the bumper. You can remove them, but I like the look of them. And so if you get one of these, definitely keep the screws on. And then with the Rubicon, you are gonna get all-terrain tires. They are 17-inch rims with 33s, but you can actually easily fit 35-inch tires on these if you want. Straight from the factory, you don't have to change the suspension, but you can see with the Rubicon, you get those Fox shocks underneath, and so it has a really, really cool look to it. And then before we head out back, here is the Rubicon badging on the hood, and then you'll get the signature vents on the top of the hood to make it look a lot more aggressive. And then just like the Wranglers, you actually can fold the windshield down, so you can fold the windshield flat, and you can take off the doors as well. And the mirrors aren't power folding, but you can just like fold them in manually with that. Now I'm gonna walk around the vehicle quickly so you can see proportions on it. This actually looks a little bit smaller in person than what it did in the pictures. It's not like quite half-ton size. It's definitely more like the size of like a Tacoma or a Colorado. And this vehicle looks way, way better in person. Now that we're back here, here is the key fob for the Gladiator. You have a couple functions on it. The lock and unlock, and then the remote start function. So if we lock it here and then press that button twice, that'll do the remote start function, and then you'll hear that 3.6 liter V6 start right up, and then if you press it again, that'll shut the engine right off. Now, actually coming into the back here, first and foremost, we can see the LED lights here in the back with the Gladiator, and then there's parking sensors with more red tow hooks and a receiver hitch integrated down below. And I love the old school Jeep badging that they did that was like on the Commander and all that back in the day. And then you do get a little backup camera right here in the center of the tailgate. Now, actually popping down the tailgate, it is slow lowering. This already has the spray-in bed liner. You get LED bed lights with this. There is a full power outlet, so you can cook some toast in the back. You do get a power rear setting window, and then there are some cargo tie-down hooks in the rear as well. Now, stepping around to the side here, we can see the door panel for the rear. You've got some nice contrasted stitching with the black leather. You can see the leather all back here. So it is tan interior. I love the contrast between the black and the tan here. You've got all your window controls front and center. Got a couple USBs, a full power outlet, some cup holders, and then you have vents for the rear. They do that same mesh that they have in the Wranglers in the back here. And you can see the speakers just up above, but there's actually a decent amount of legroom. It's actually pretty similar to the Wrangler in terms of legroom for the rear seats. Now, coming around to the front, we have keyless entry, so one touch to lock it, and then you just have to put your hand on the back of the door handle, and that will unlock it. And then before we walk in, I'll mention there is blind spot monitoring on the mirrors, so it helps with staying safe in here. But again, more of that white contrasted stitching with the leather bolster. You can see the full door panel. They give you a little net here for extra storage. You have your door lock and unlock, and then your mirror controls here with the door handle. Now, this is gonna be crazy, you guys, but these are actually the controls to adjust the seat. So it's all manual. I know this is a literally $61,000 vehicle, and it does not have power adjustable seats, but Jeep keeps things simple. That's to turn on the power outlet that I showed you back in the bed area, and then you have all your light controls here. Those are for your fog lights, that's for your cargo lights, and then those are to dim the screens. Now, stepping in, step-in height's actually really good. It's really easy to get into the Gladiator, and now that we're in, it is a push button start, so put your foot on the brake and push the push button, and that'll start the Gladiator right up, and then you'll see the gauges do a sweep. Now, there are a bunch of controls here. So you have your regular cruise control. This has adaptive cruise control as well, so you set that on that function, and then you have all your voice command controls here, and then you have this for the center screen. We'll go over that shortly, but nicely leather wrapped steering wheel with some nice contrasted white stitching on the interior of the steering wheel, and then we have all of our controls for the turn signal and your wiper controls as well. Now here in the center stack, we have our RPMs on the left side. On the right side, we have our speedo, and then that little center thing here that I showed you just there, that scrolls through these menus. So you can go to a bunch of different little menus, get a bunch of different information on the Gladiator. So you can go through like all your safety tech. It's cool, give you some different stuff with the off-road too on there, but it gives you every bit of information that you could want on the vehicle. Now coming over here, we have the touch screen, and this is the same 8.4 inch that's actually in the JL Rubicons, and so they have that same kind of weatherproofing around it, and it's really responsive touch time, so you see everything pretty much happens instantaneously. You do get dual zone climate in the Gladiator here. You have your controls for your heated seats, heated steering wheel, and then there's a function for the backup camera. It turns with the trajectory lines there, and then you can see you can zoom in. So if you're towing something and you want to go a little bit, zoom into the trailer, you can do that. And then this is all drag and drop on the touchscreen, so you just hold things down and you can put whatever you want in this little sidebar as well. And then this is where you're going to do your calling, texting, Bluetooth, all that, and it does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We're going to go into the off-road pages. It's going to take a minute to load though. So now that the off-road pages have loaded, you can see a bunch of different information on the vehicle. So you can see all of your gauges, see your pitch and roll. It gives you a bunch of different information on the vehicle. Now stepping out down below, we can see we've got our controls for the dual zone climate, the analog controls, your controls for the heated steering wheel and heated seats. They give you analog controls for that. You guys know I love that because sometimes I don't like to use the touchscreen for everything. Analog volume controls there. And then you have all your controls front and center for the windows. Since you can take the doors off, they put everything in the center for the Jeeps. And then you can see here you got a little 12 volt. And then just down below you have auxiliary switches if you do add aftermarket stuff to it. So down here we have our off-road plus. You have your sway bar disconnect, and then you have your front and rear locker, or you can just do rear only right there. It's a lot easier than the previous generation. And then we have our shifter for the four-wheel drive down here. Still traditional shifter. You do have a four-wheel low. And then you have your regular shifter for the gear selections, and you can see you do have a manual mode if you want to shift the gears yourself. And then they do give you a traditional e-brake. It is nicely lined with leather with more of that contrasted stitching. There is a center console here, again lined with leather, more contrasted stitching. We get a bunch of storage space in this, and then you can see there's a little USB in there, but it's nice that they give you both of those units. And now that we're done with that, let's actually finish with the seats. So I really like the seats here in the Rubicon Gladiator. So the bolsters aren't super tight, so they don't like hug you crazy tight, but then they are tight enough to hold you in place, and the leather is actually really soft. We've got the glove box over here, so basically the same size that they've had in the Jeeps for a really long time with the glove boxes, and you can see your owner's manual. Window sticker is all in there. And then at the very top here, it's kind of hard to see, but there's all these latches. So the front part of the top you can remove just via these latches. It's just the T-top, just the same exact as you see in the Wranglers. The back, you do have to use power tools, and there's actually a storage space where you can store all the screws and all that. But they do give you this part, so you can just take this off super easy, no problem. Overall, the interior on the Gladiator is just as good as the interior on the new JL Wranglers, and so the interior is identical, but I really like it. It's really high quality. But now that we're done going over the interior features, let's take the new 2020, so weird to say, but 2020 Gladiator out for a drive. So we are setting off here in the 2020 Gladiator, and it's still so crazy to say 2020. I feel like just yesterday was 2018 when I, just barely started reviewing vehicles. But initial impression is this feels super similar to the JL Wranglers. Right now we're actually about to make a right-hand turn, and the engine just shut off for the auto stop start. And you actually can turn off that function if you don't like that. But just going off initially, like driving wise, it drives really smooth. It drives a little bit smoother than the JL Wranglers, I'm noticing, and so I'm really impressed with that. Visibility throughout the Gladiator is actually really good. It's pretty similar to a Wrangler. That back window seems to have a lot more visibility compared to what the Wranglers have. I kind of think that tire gets in the way a little bit, and so it's nice that they actually mount the tire under the vehicle so that it makes it a little bit easier to see out the rear. Steering on it, just like any other Jeeps, a little bit vague, but it's actually pretty direct once you actually go through the vagueness. It goes right where you want it to go. It doesn't float too much, but obviously if you lift it or something like that, it's going to float a lot more. Now in terms of turning, it actually turns really easy. The turning radius is super good, and like I said, it's like a little bit smaller size truck, and so from like a truck perspective, if you want like a truck bed, this is something that handles really well. We're gonna do a little bit of an acceleration here, get this 285 horsepower V6 up and going. That's 40. We are getting up there. Yeah, so I mean, just as expected, this is a little bit heavier than the Wrangler, so it's not quick, but that 8-speed automatic transmission, is definitely a game changer. It just shifts through the gears so much quicker and so much smoother. It's a huge difference compared to that old 5-speed they had in the Wranglers. Now, to wrap things up quickly, if you are in the market for a smaller size trucks like the Tacoma, the Colorado, Frontier, all that, this is kind of like in that segment, and I can tell you right now, this is going to be the king. It has that Jeep heritage, it has that Jeep look, and with the off-road capability that this has, it's just going to blow all those other trucks out of the water. So if you are on the market for a smaller size truck, definitely check out one of these Gladiators. And there we have it, everyone, the 2020 Jeep Gladiator. And again, thank you everyone so much for watching, and like I said before, it really helps out the channel if you would subscribe, comment down below what you thought, and then a big shout out and thank you to Larry H. Miller, Chrysler Jeep here in Sandy for providing us with the vehicle. But I will see all of you in that next video.